Welcome to a new chapter of Voices of the World. This time, we say hello from South Africa with Nadia. One of my friends introduced Nadia to me a few days ago, and she's actually been really good host here in Cape Town. So, who is Nadia?
Nadia is, at the moment, she is a teacher, private teacher, involved with English teaching. I have the opportunity to meet some young individuals, not just young, mature individuals from all over the world, and I'm extending my services to them as far as when they need help with English.
Awesome. Now, what do you think people should come to South Africa?
People should come to South Africa, as South Africa and Cape Town in particular is a very beautiful city. Table Mountain is known as one of the seven wonders of the world. We also have friendly hospitality. We enjoy visitors from all over the world. Cape Town itself is a very clean and cosmopolitan city, if I may call it that. We have a lot of history that goes back to the 1600s when the Dutch came to Cape Town in terms of the colonization. But at the same time, we also a city that has evolved. People have evolved, the people have grown post-apartheid, and we also become a free and a democratic country.
Awesome. And it's actually been, this is my seventh day. So it's been 1 week here in South Africa. And one of the things that is more shocking for me, especially when I arrive at the airport, is seeing, the contrast between really rich people and you also have the poor people. Like as a similar issue that we have here in Colombia, for example, in my country. But talking about inequality in South Africa, do you think inequality is getting worse? Is getting better? And what is the main issue between like both, let's say both groups? We can call them, let's say like the rich and the poor, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, one could say that the distinction between the rich and poor, and in some cases, it's very clear. It's very you cannot see it. It's clear. Unfortunately, South Africa has a lot of unemployment as well. We also have situations of migration where we have people moving from different provinces coming to Cape Town. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that there's more opportunities, but in the same time, there's work to be done. Let's leave it at that, Joanne, for the sake of not wanting to offend anyone.
Of course. Yeah.
And yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but at the moment, Cape Town is very well run. It has a good system. There is good services that's running, which makes it very different from the rest of South Africa.
Amazing, and it's actually very interesting because today I have the chance to walk around the main town, the downtown, and it's actually completely fine. Like, didn't have any issue. People were very friendly. I was a little bit cautious because obviously when you talk about South Africa, you are kind of cautious about everything, safety. But in general, it was actually fine. Like we were walking around, talking to people, and like you don't find that kind of dodgy people. Like if you go, for example, to Athens, London, Madrid, like the Paris, the big cities, you always find people that try to get money from you. I didn't have that vibe here. Like people just want to sell their things. Obviously, they just want to try to sell you, but they're not really persistent, if I have to say. Like people were very like respecting your space. So it's something that I really appreciated here in South Africa. So something really nice here. And I actually felt safe, to be honest. Like obviously in some parts it might be a little bit dodgy, sketchy, but in general it was actually fine. But let's talk about, for example, the places people should visit. Because today, for example, I visited a very interesting place, a very interesting museum called the District 6. And it's funny because that place, long time ago, right, there used to be, let's say, black people. Let's talk about this before we go into this topic. Here in South Africa, it's okay to say white and black. Or some people get offended if you say black.
For some people, they do feel very sensitive about it. They don't want to be labeled as that because we are obviously a very integrated country in terms of democracy post-apartheid. But I guess that's dependent on individuals, each to their own. For myself, if I can share my history, you spoke about District 6. I am from District 6. I was born in District 6, so I
Give me one sec.
experienced it. No problem.
Let's give people like a big overview about District 6. So imagine you are living in your neighborhood, and after a couple of years living there and you have everything established, you have your house, you have everything. One day the government comes and tells you, I'm sorry, you have to leave. Now you need this space, this big piece of land for only white people. That's what happened. So tell us a little bit about it.
So for myself, I was born in District 6 and I was only 8 years old when this took place. At the time, I didn't understand what was happening. All that I knew was my parents were served with a letter that said, you have to leave today. And we were going to be relocated to another place, which was outside of the city. At that age, I thought I was getting a new home. We traveled for probably an hour, and we had to place everything that we owned on this one truck. And that was it. It was one way. So whatever we couldn't get on, we had to leave. Fast track, a few years later, I understood that what took place at that time was a decision by the parties that made the decision. District 6 is now a white-only area. And we had to make home in a new place, essentially now known as the Cape Flats, and that was where we had to find a new way. And being outside the city, of course there was challenges, because I think the first year I had to complete my studies in another area, which was walking over to a railway station to get to a school. I was young, I was 8 and 9, and then I had to complete my schooling, but there was no way for me to come back to the school that I knew for that first 2 years of my life. For most of us, we saw it as an opportunity to start over. For the older generation, we're talking forefathers, grandfathers, they struggled to adapt to a new way. And there has been a process for the government in terms of restitution, giving the land back to those that was displaced. But for some it took 33 years. Unfortunately, some passed. And that is now up to the generation of those families, the younger generation, to continue with the process of obviously getting their land back or getting their homes back. So for myself, it was very sad to know that I couldn't go back to my home. It was very sad. I lost my cat in the process of moving. I don't know what happened, but I often think about him. Yes, so District 6 bears a lot of good memories, a lot of sadness. A lot of people, they ultimately lost what was precious to them.
And why this district was chosen by the government? What makes this district special? Why did they choose? Why did they then choose another neighborhood?
The decision as far as why District 6, I don't know if it had to do with the fact that the area was so close to the city center, that they wanted to rezone it specifically just for business purposes. If you should see District 6 now, there has been homes that was given back, the restitution. Some families came back, and they did that in 3 phases. So you would see that development if you should drive through there. The rest of the land is standing empty, and we're talking from 1966, where that decision was made for District 6 to become a white-only area. I mean, that's a long time. You know, we're now in 2026. We don't know essentially when it's going to be completed, that people will eventually find their homes and that area will be developed. That is still uncertain.
And something that I really admire is that sense of community, because when I went to the museum, I actually learned that there has been a lot of projects and plans to develop and build like hotels or whatever you call it, or units, apartment, whatever. But the community had been strong. They said, you can't just leave the land to another person to build something, but they still have that sense of belonging to the land. And that's, as you said, there is that process of restitution. That is the same thing that happened, for example, in Colombia. So you have, for example, the guerrillas or the illegal groups. They went to the farms, the countryside, they took the land from the farmers.
Yes.
And recently, with a peace agreement that was reached with the government and the guerrillas, so there have been some efforts from the government to restitute the land to the farmers. It's been hard because obviously you have to show that you were the owner,
Right.
you have to show like a lot of documents and etc. And sometimes obviously challenging for that people to show
Yes.
legally to
They may have
Yeah.
lost their documents in the
Exactly,
process. of
exactly.
moving. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I just find it fascinating because it's basically talking about the same thing that happened in the Second World War in the concentration camps with the Jews. You know, they were just, all of a sudden the Germans came and they just told them, oh, you have to leave this space and you have to come with us and come to a concentration camp. But obviously for you it was probably a little bit different. But let's say that all that people that were moved from this neighborhood, they were not moved to another district with the same conditions. So the conditions were actually worse, right?
The conditions, for the most, the conditions were favorable, but in some cases it was not as comforting
Exactly.
and it was not as accepting, because with the removals, essentially that it was labelled as that. It was scattered from as far as Mitchell's Plain, Bonteheuwel, Lansdowne, Athlone. I mean, I think you might have seen that in the District 6 Museum. They showed you the new areas that was marked off. And yes, some people really struggled to get back on their feet because they didn't have that close-knit sense of community, which is what they felt and what I felt when I was in District 6. Because you really had that feeling of love thy neighbor like yourself. You felt that, and people looked out for each other. And it wasn't just about, it was a unified community. I mean, it was Asian, it was colored, it was black, we were all living together regardless of the color of our skin. And for the reason for deciding that this area now becomes a white only, we don't know really who made that decision. But the legacy lives on through the people. And that is what you'll see. And what do they say now in the New South Africa? The Ubuntu, the sense of community amongst the people. Yes.
Now, let's talk about Mandela. Everyone knows about Mandela, but who is, for people that have no idea about Mandela, who was Mandela? What is the role of Mandela before and after apartheid? So what did he change, basically?
Mandela was the president for the people. He believed in the freedom of South Africa and making South Africa a place for all. And I learned that as a young girl in trying to understand who is he, where are we going as a country. So post-apartheid, Mandela was released from prison after 27 years from Robben Island, as he was exiled onto the island.
So why did they send? So why he was in prison?
He was in prison because he fought for the freedom of South Africa, the people of South Africa, and making it a unified country for all, regardless of the color of our skin.
So what was the crime, basically?
The crime, I believe that could have been because he stood up against the government, the presiding government. I was fortunate in having to visit Robben Island after his release, and I got to see what he lived like and what was the life for Mandela in that cell. So I don't know if you know about the cell number. There's a lot of reference to that too, about the cell where he stayed in prison. And it was very sad. It was very tearful to know that that was the space he was confined in for 27 years. What we got to experience when he was released from prison, it was a very joyful moment for a lot. Celebration on the street, celebration in all parts of South Africa. And when we got to experience having Nelson Mandela as the president for that few years that he served as the president of the country.
So he was the first no-white president in South Africa. No
yes,
white, yeah, the first one,
was, yes, he was. And unfortunately, his age, I think it was his age too that didn't allow him to continue his tenure because eventually he stepped down and a new president was re-elected. Yes.
In terms of history.
Yes.
Because obviously, when you talk about like Cape Town and comparing Cape Town with other big cities in Africa, we can say that Cape Town is probably the most developed city in the whole continent, right?
I would say in the whole of South Africa. I would like to say that. I'm very proud to be from Cape Town.
But why this city has that European influence? Like you can feel it on the street. Obviously, you see more white
Yes.
people and the buildings and everything. Why does it look more European compared to other cities, not only in South Africa but also in the rest of the continent?
So we have a lot of Dutch influence, and that you can see in the buildings. You can see that in terms of the Cape of Good Hope, because it was established as a fort to keep watch for ships that's out on the ocean.
Also, the language, because I hear African, yeah, obviously you walk around and you hear the language. For me, it sounds like German, Dutch. Does it have any relation, the language, or is not any connection?
Well, essentially, then English, Afrikaans. So what you're hearing is the Afrikaans, which is for some people it's very close to German, and that is so. Yes, for me, my second language is Afrikaans. My first language is English. For those that was essentially born in in an Afrikaans community, that would be first language Afrikaans. So what you're experiencing, and some call it mix between English and Afrikaans, and they call it mingles. So it's a mixture of English and Afrikaans mingles. So when you listen to some of the music that you hear sort of on the street, the Cape music, it will be interesting to what you think. And I can mention one artist for that matter. He's known as Youngster CPT. So check him out. For the audience that's watching this, check out Youngster CPT. He's really got that mingles mixture between English and Afrikaans going.
It's actually quite funny because in Singapore it's the same thing. Like they have that mix of cultures. They
Yes.
have people from Malaysia, from China, and from India.
Yes.
And they actually do the same thing with the language. So they kind of mix the language and they
Yes.
call Singi, which is like Singapore
Singapore
and
and
English.
English, wow.
And you have the same thing.
Oh, right, same thing,
Yeah.
same thing, same thing.
But it doesn't mean that a German can understand African. Like the language is completely
It's
different.
completely different.
Or some words are similar.
Some words are similar, and some words you can pick up, as I say, Netherlands, which is the Dutch. It's an easy association to the language, and some words are similar and exactly the same. So I must say that I don't speak German, but I can relate to some of the words. I don't speak. Yeah, so you'll be surprised.
And you also have Namibia, that they actually have a big German colony. I actually have a few friends from Namibia in Australia, and they actually, some of their parents, they come from Germany. And you see the white people, blue, green eyes. So it's nice to see that contrast of,
exactly,
because
exactly.
everyone thinks that in Africa, everyone is, dark and everyone wears,
or that when you're walking in the street, there's a lion that's going
exactly.
to come up
Yeah.
and that's going to grab you because
Exactly.
no, we've become very developed and we have changed, and there's so much of that you'll see, as you've said now, the association to the buildings and what it looks like. Some of people come to Cape Town, but it reminds them of their own city. Cape Town has also become a very good place for, interesting enough, for the movies, for the filmmakers. So they come here to film. The film production has actually grown quite a bit as well in Cape Town.
Awesome.
So don't be surprised if you think you're watching a movie and you think you are in London, but in actual fact you're in Cape Town.
Well, I actually saw a few years ago
Yes.
a movie,
Yeah.
I think it was comedy, and it was filmed in the Lost City, in the hotel close to Johannesburg.
Yes,
Not sure if
yes,
you've seen it,
yes,
like a big
yes,
resort,
yes,
5
yes,
stars.
Yes, I see it.
And
the
from
Sun
that
City.
movie, yeah, exactly, that one.
Sun
And from
City.
that movie,
Yes.
I actually got the idea of coming to South
Oh
Africa.
my
Because
goodness!
like it was
wow.
amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, it's quite expensive,
Yeah,
but
sure.
it's just out of this world. Now I'm gonna ask you like quick questions.
Yeah.
So what is the minimum wage in South Africa?
So for the minimum, I'd say anywhere between 300, 350 USD.
USD and with health. So I guess obviously if you're employed in a company or whatever, how is health here? So there is a public system, or you have to pay a private insurance?
So
or?
with the majority of companies, you have the medical insurance, which is a private insurance, which is for medical care, right? So you have your job, you have the benefits of earning, paying towards your medical, which is your medical aid, and towards your pension funds and that's ultimately your basic salary.
But there is a public health system.
That-
Then you go
that's
to a hospital
so
and you don't
so
have to
that's
pay
your
anything.
medical, that's your private.
Yeah.
But if you are not part of a medical system like that, in terms of private, you obviously have the public system, which
Yeah.
is your hospitals. The hospitals, the clinics. So that's catering for the public as well.
And I guess they obviously completely different experience, like anywhere in the world, I
It's
guess.
a completely different
Yeah.
experience, yes, absolutely. So priorities, I mean, the health is a priority, but again, if you get the medical privately compared to public system, there's a totally different system and totally different experience for that
And
matter.
with pension, do you have to, like, you have a private system and a public system, or how does it work?
For the most part, from what I understood, that it is a private system.
Mhm.
So there's different fund managers or fund companies or the likes that's managing that process through the different companies. And that yeah. So I don't know too much about the public one, but I understand from the corporations. In terms of their structures, it's all linked to private companies.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
basically, you just pay for the pension, and the private funds, they invest the money in different
And
sectors.
In different sectors,
And then you
however,
get-
and then
yeah.
you obviously have that build up
Yeah,
for
exactly.
yourself over the years.
Yeah, exactly. But it doesn't
Until-
mean that that you can retire at a certain age.
and it's
65,
obviously
70.
dependent on your retirement age. Yes.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, there is that options available.
I'm talking about education, like preschool, primary, secondary. Is it free or
So
university?
so the schools, there is a cost that you pay. I know some, depending on your income, some families do make application to get the funding from government, however. And then there's obviously your private schooling, which comes at a cost for yourself as well. So I think either way, it's very flexible enough. It's open for families to appeal and ask for help. I understand that channel is open for everyone. So if you want to enroll at a school, and you explain the situation as far as what you can afford, whether you can or not, I think that it's not a case of saying no. If you can't afford, don't come to my school. It's open for you to speak to the authorities and ask for help.
Excellent. Now talking about South Africa, what are the main places that people can visit here? Apart from Cape Town, obviously.
Okay, so you definitely have to look at Robben Island as a must for every person that wants to know about Mandela.
Which is in Cape Town.
Which is in
Yeah.
Cape Town,
Yeah.
yes. As far as the rest of Cape Town, I mean we're talking about the scenic routes now going into PE, Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape, and that's essentially called the Garden Route. It's very popular, and there's also the Kruger National Park. If you want to experience the Big Five, the animals as far as your zebras, your lions, your rhinoceroses, you find them on Kruger National. And then obviously coming into Durban as well, KZN, it's also very popular. So, I mean, we have 7 provinces. So in each province, it talks specifically to a specific part of South Africa that it's famous for.
Now, this week is being really windy.
Yes.
And you were telling me behind the camera is something creepy about it. So
Yeah,
what is happening in
so
Cape
the
Town now?
folklore, actually, there's a story behind this wind, actually. So it's the gale force winds in Cape Town. You will not find this anywhere else but in Cape Town. So there's talk about this man that lived on the mountain, and his name was, I believe it's Jan, and Jan had this battle with the devil. And whenever he was smoking his pipe, and there was this dance that he was doing with the devil, so this is what you're experiencing. That's what they say.
Like a legend.
Like a
myth.
legend, like a myth.
Yeah.
So when this wind goes all crazy, it's this dance that he's having with the devil. For the most part, when we speak about the tablecloth that's coming over the mountain, because Table Mountain is flat, so you have this cloth that forms over, and that's the clouds coming over your table, which is Table Mountain, and then the clouds becomes this tablecloth. The other story also about Cape Town and the mountain specifically, there's a story about the giants, and there's the southern watcher of the south. So when you look at Table Mountain, you're looking at it from a view, it looks almost like there's a man sleeping, and this giant that's positioned and he's actually laying there to protect the city.
Oh wow! That's
So I'll
very
be sure to
interesting.
send you a picture of that. Maybe you can add it
Awesome.
to your
Yeah,
video
we have it
as
here
well.
on the video.
There we
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Any other thing you want to share with us? Just to.
For sure, I'd like to say to people, look, Cape Town is a beautiful city. South Africa is a beautiful country. If you want to experience, come out, have a look, and see for yourself. There's so much that you can experience. You could be walking through the company gardens and you could feel like you're now in the city of Boston. So I've had the experience of also traveling through different parts of the world, and I do get that feeling. For example, that I'm in Washington, in the US, I feel as if a part of Cape Town was with me, and the same with Boston. So you will be surprised. You might think that we are an underdeveloped country, but you'll be surprised to know that we are just as good as certain parts of Europe or certain parts of your country.
Excellent. Now, you're an English teacher. So, for people who are watching this video and English is not their first language, so let's give some information for people who maybe want to take some classes. You obviously give online lessons, right?
Yes, I do. So fortunately, I've had the privilege of meeting many individuals from all over the world, and how it happened that they met me obviously was done privately, but they come to Cape Town through the English schools, different schools that's teaching English, and privately they connect with me because of word of mouth. So you're not really going to. I'll be happy to share my information with you.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it here on the channel so people
on
can.
where people
Yeah,
can reach me, if anything.
exactly.
Thank you for the opportunity. And yes, English is the people's language. I wanted to share that with you, Johan. And it's like a passport to the world. So
That's right.
it's everywhere you go, people look for English, and English is really very practical. English is the way of life. So you know, 99% of the world speaks English at the moment, and English is going to allow you to travel and see many things.
That's why we're actually here, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. With Spanish, I don't think you get this far, because not many people speak Spanish here on the street.
Yeah. Well, you know, so yeah, we try, and at the end of the day, it's give it a try. You know, language is all about your experiences, and take that with you through expressing yourself.
And with Nadia, you not only get a teacher, but you also get a friend who can teach you a lot about South Africa, about your life, about your country, and that's what you want when you want to learn another language.
Yes.
Not just someone telling you, oh, this is the, to be, this is present, this is past, this is future. So you want a person to have a chat with, and that's the most important part of being a teacher, right?
And it is, and it's also about making an impression and really making a difference in someone's life. You know, so I see that every day when I meet some new individual or new student. I want them to take something away for themselves in terms of how can I make English as part of my life, and that's the key.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Nadia.
I
Let us
appreciate
know
that.
in the comments if you have any questions about South Africa. Here you find all the information if you want to take any lessons, any classes we hear. And we see you in another chapter, maybe from South Africa or from any other part of the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you.